Welcome to The Explainer. So, if you're in the tech world, I'm willing to bet you've had this moment. You're staring at a screen surrounded by a mountain of tickets and to-do lists, and you just think, what is all this for? Well, today, we're going to break down a really powerful framework for answering that very question, all inspired by the journey of a product manager named Habiba.
And why does this matter? Oh, it matters because this feeling is so common. You get caught up in the whirlwind of agile ceremonies, product roadmaps, those late night releases, and then one day you kind of look up and it hits you, why am I even doing this? It's that feeling of being totally disconnected from the real human impact of your work.
All right, so where do we even begin to fix that? Well, the first pillar of this framework tells us to stop looking at the code or the product and start looking at who it's actually for. Your purpose, your meaning. It starts with people. This quote right here just nails it. It's way too easy in tech to get obsessed with the what, the features, the sprint goals, the roadmap. But this idea challenges us to focus on the who. It's a huge shift, moving from a product-first mindset to a people-first one.
To really see what this looks like, let's jump into a story from Habiba's early career. Just picture it, a government office somewhere in Africa. You've got these incredibly long lines of people just waiting for hours and hours, all to get basic services. You can just imagine the frustration.
And then a new digital process gets introduced. And just like that, those long, frustrating lines, they're gone. But here's the real moment of purpose. Seeing an elderly woman, someone who used to have to stand in that queue, now able to renew her documents from home with a smile on her face. That is tangible. That is human impact.
And that story just reveals what tech can be when it's at its absolute best. See, it's not just about making things faster or more efficient. It's about making life genuinely simpler for people. It's about making our systems a little bit fairer. And ultimately, it's about making our world more humane. Now, that's a purpose you can really get behind.
Okay, but what happens when that initial purpose starts to feel, well, a bit stale? That brings us right to our second pillar. It tackles that feeling we all get when the work that once felt so meaningful now just feels like a routine. And the big idea here is that your purpose isn't supposed to be static. It's meant to change and evolve right along with you.
Seriously, this is such a freeing thought. We put so much pressure on ourselves to find the one true purpose and then, cling to it for life. But this says, no, that's not how it works, and that's okay. What drives you as a junior dev is going to be totally different from what drives you as a senior leader a decade later. It's supposed to be. And you can really see that evolution laid out here. When you're starting out, your purpose is usually tied to actually doing the work, shipping a product, digitizing a process. But as you grow, that purpose starts to shift. It becomes less about your own tasks and more about empowering others. Through mentoring, shaping strategy, and leading teams, your impact just gets bigger.
So if you're feeling a bit disconnected or lost, listen to this. It might not mean you've lost your purpose at all. It might just be a sign that your purpose is growing up, it's evolving, and it's ready for its next chapter. It's basically a call to start looking for meaning in new places.
Which leads us perfectly into our third and final pillar. Okay, so if our purpose evolves, how in the world do we figure out what it's evolving into? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple. You have to give it space. You have to step back from the daily grind to actually get some clarity.
You know how tech culture is all about the hustle, right? Endless sprints, back-to-back meetings. We're always chasing the next thing. But this pillar argues that true purpose, real clarity, doesn't come from another sprint. It comes from hitting pause. It's found in those quiet moments when you deliberately step off the treadmill.
And here's a perfect example. Habiba took a week off to volunteer at a youth festival. Her job? To use her professional skills to set up Wi-Fi in the middle of a field. Think about that. It's the exact same tech skill set she uses every day, but in a completely different, service-focused environment. And that one simple act gave her a whole new perspective on her work's value.
And that whole experience points us to the ultimate goal, what we can call the sweet spot of purpose. It's that magical place where what you do, your skills, the things you're good at, lines up perfectly with who you are, your values, the things you truly care about. When those two click, that's where you find really meaningful work.
So let's recap real quick. We've got our three pillars: focus on people, let your purpose evolve, and make sure you give it space to breathe. The big question now is, what do we do with all this? How do we start finding our own direction?
First things first, it's a mindset shift. You have to realize that purpose isn't some final destination where you can just plant a flag and say, I've found it, I'm done.
No way! It's much more like a compass. It's a direction that helps guide all the little choices you make every single day.
So if you want to start this journey like right now, here are 3 simple but really powerful questions to ask yourself. Number 1, who really benefits from the work I do? Think beyond your team or your boss. Who's the actual person on the other end? Second, what impact do I want to leave behind? Fast forward 20 years, what do you want to be known for? And finally, what do I want to grow into next? Who is the next version of yourself, and what do you need to do to get there?
And that brings us to the final and maybe most important takeaway. Purpose isn't something you just magically find one day. It's something you build. Think of it like a long-term construction project. It's not a lightning bolt of inspiration. You build it, piece by piece, with intention, with a ton of curiosity, and with a whole lot of heart.